Well, hey, everybody. It's Dr. Phil. I hope your day's going well. I know it's not for a lot of you, which is why I actually decided to pop on. The thing I like about Facebook Live is I don't have to actually deal with a specific story. I can talk about a general topic and talk to some of you guys in particular. Whereas on the show, I have, a guest with a particular problem and a story in front of me. So I have to deal with that. But what I'm hoping to talk about today is just the fact that I'm getting thousands, and I mean, well, you guys can look on Facebook and see thousands of comments and questions about all of the anxiety and worry, divisiveness and concern about the election and the problems associated with getting along with your family members that maybe have a different attitude, your friends, relationships that are just falling apart, and all of this in the face of this pandemic. And look, guys, the fact of the matter is, you may not realize it, but this quarantine and this pandemic and not knowing where things are financially is taking a big toll. And it's making you maybe short and a lot less tolerant. And I've been going on Facebook and answering a lot of you guys. I think I answered like 20 people last night at 2 a.m. I'm in Dallas right now instead of LA. And I was answering a lot of people last night talking about, I'm actually thinking about getting a divorce. We're so divided over this. I've got friends that won't talk to me. And somebody was saying, listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And then one person on Facebook was in a conversation. I think it involved AJ or Aj and Eileen and April and Holly. And Ethan was saying, human rights aren't opinions. No, human rights aren't opinions, but people can have opinions about policies and priorities and how aggressively they're being pursued. And I don't know, for my money, I haven't seen much done about human rights in the last several decades from either party. So I don't think either side's got much of a high ground to get to and crow much about their side with regard to human rights. So, I think none of us, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, blue, red, Democrat, Republican, I don't think either party's got much of a record that they can point to on that. So, but one thing's for sure is we're not going to get anything done if we stop talking. And so we just get gridlock legislatively. I want people to keep talking. Sarah Parker wrote, my father is very opinionated on Trump and political stuff. How can I ask him to tone it down without offending or hurting him? Look, you don't have to react every time you have the right to. Some people get so wound up and they get very strident, and they're just so right and so righteous in their beliefs that they don't really think about how it's affecting other people. And maybe you can't get him to tone it down, but you don't have to react to that, and you don't have to love everything about someone to love that person. And I said, there was a time when people could have differences and debate those differences and then go to lunch. And somebody responded, you know what, I don't want to go to lunch with somebody that's locking kids up in cages. And I'm like, really? this is not something that is a Republican or Democratic issue. This is a problem for both parties. And maybe if both parties would sit down and talk about what can we do instead of doing that? What can we agree on? Let's talk about what we agree on, and maybe we can come up with a solution. Nobody wants that to happen, but yet they pick that point to divide on. So I mean, maybe you can't get your father to stop being opinionated, but you don't have to let it fracture your relationship. And Jane Southwick says, we have discussed separating because his political fervor and involvement goes against my values. Well, look, if this is getting to the point that you're going to take yourselves down to the courthouse and get a divorce, you guys really need to put up some boundaries. Maybe there's a point where you say, you know what? We're not going to talk about these things, or we're going to talk about them 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, or we're going to talk about this on Monday, but we're not going to talk about it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. If there are children involved, do you really have the right to fracture the family and have a child grow up without both of their parents because you don't agree over a political policy? And you can say, we're talking about more than political policies here. We're talking about something that really matters. Well, okay, then do something about it. Vote, write your congressman, be an activist. You guys can both pursue the beliefs that you have without fracturing your family. And I'm telling you, you've got to step back and say, I don't want my family to become a casualty here. Divorce rates are really skyrocketing right now in the middle of this pandemic because of all the different pressures. And people are turning to all kinds of solutions. The show we have airing today is about people getting caught up in cults. This is the kind of time when people look at the establishment and say, this is so bad, I'll take any alternative. There are 5,000 active cults operating in the United States right now. That's just an estimate, but that's the estimate that Rick Ross, a cult expert that was on a show recently, estimates that there are 5,000 cults operating in the United States right now. And they're all on the internet promising you an alternative. It doesn't necessarily mean they can deliver it, but they're saying, if you're tired of that, come here. We're all about peace and love. And the next thing you know, you've sold all your property, you've abandoned your family, and you've become a slave to some narcissistic egomaniac that's made it all about him or her. So people are, when they're desperate, they turn looking for alternatives, and they're not real good assessors of what's real and what's not. So, don't do that. Don't let this pressure push you out. Carrie Nation, and maybe that's her real name, I don't know, it's SANASON, says, I worry about post-election. The civil unrest in the country for months has put me on edge. The division, the extremists, the violence towards one another. I'm concerned with the election either way it's determined. What shoe will drop next? I don't know. That is a big question, and we need to decide. We're the ones that decide that. We're the ones that decide how destructive things are going to get. I know where I live in California, they've sent a newsletter out for the shopping district where I live that says you need to board your stores up on election day and plan to have it boarded up for a week. Now, they don't know which way the election is going to go, but they're just saying, we can't protect you. So you need to board up your windows and lock up your doors and be prepared to be shut down for that period of time. And I think that is a terrible. I think that's a terrible chronicle on where we are right now. If just before an election, authorities are sending out letters saying, protect yourselves, lock yourselves up, board up your stores. I hate that that's going to happen. Annie Olden says the entire election is stressful. No fights with family, but sure having some with friends, leading to the end of some friendships. I think that's tragic. I think that's tragic. And you say, well, I don't want to be friends with somebody that wants to vote for that person or vote for what they stand for. I've been through a lot of different presidents and a lot of different senates, and they all talk a different game, but you really wonder if talk is cheap and action is really that different. Certainly, is it enough? Is it really enough to crash your family over, to crash friendships over? And I really question whether it is or not. And I hope that's not true. Think about what your friendship's all about. Why were you friends with this person to begin with? What was it about them that added value to your life? If there was value to that person, if they added value to your life in some way, and then you take that away, what have you given up? And I suspect that it's a lot. And I wonder how many people are escaping right now. Depression is very high, and people are really dropping out. This isolation is getting to people really bad. A show we have on Tuesday is about the fact that people are drinking hand sanitizer, by the bottles. It's like people are, out of jobs. They can't get alcohol, so they're drinking hand sanitizer. Seriously? That stuff will kill you. There are like 75 brands that the FDA has said have methyl alcohol in it, which can cause you to go into a coma and go blind, can kill you. All of this alcohol in hand sanitizers has been denaturized, which means they've put stuff in it where it's not fit for human consumption. So it's bitter, it tastes terrible, your body has a bad reaction to it. So I really hope that you'll stop and think, if you or a family member are really backed up to the point that you're starting to drink more than you should. I mean, honest to God, think about that. Don't let this situation win. You really, really don't want to let this situation get you to the point that you just can't cope with it anymore. Ask for the help that you need. Reach out. The last thing you need to be doing is getting rid of friends instead of hanging on to friends. I hate to see people. I hate to see people doing that. And I want to read some of your comments here, but I can't get to them for some reason because my Facebook page has frozen. So I'm sorry that I can't read some of them that are coming up. I hate that. But here's my main message, guys. I'm going to be going to my Facebook page. I'm going to be reading your comments. I'm going to be answering them. I'm going to be telling you what I think. Look, we're in this together. And I don't think there's ever been a time where Dr. Phil, the platform, has been more relevant than it is now. And I am committed to talking about things that make a difference in your life. I'm committed to talking about the things you want to talk about. So if you've got an issue, if you've got a problem, then write to me. If you can't travel right now to get where you can sit down with me, I'll talk to you on Zoom. But I want to be a factor here. However this election goes, there's going to be turmoil. And I want to be someone that is a mediator, someone that brings about solutions, not problems. And if your family's falling apart because you're divided over what's happening in America right now, let me try to mediate some middle ground. If you're in a situation where divorce is seeming like the answer, let me help you with that. If you're fractured from your parents or your brothers or sisters, let me help you with that. If you're feeling like there's so much strife out there and all that, just like, what's the point? Let me help you with that. And don't let it get to you. Call 911 if you need to. Call the helplines if you need to. And certainly understand that, taking your own life or hurting yourself, drinking yourself into oblivion, those aren't solutions. We can work this out together, and I'm committed to doing that. They told us to stop shooting last year when the pandemic hit. We didn't do that. We did like 35 shows from the kitchen and my office at home, and we're going to keep shooting now. But I don't want to just talk about anything. I want to talk about what you want to talk about. So I'm going to be on the internet. I'm going to be on Facebook. I'm going to be on the stage, but I don't want to just talk about anything. I want to talk about what you want to talk about. So you tell me, and that's what we'll talk about, maybe with you. Or maybe you don't want to be on, you just want the topic dealt with. Just tell us that. But I'm going to keep coming back here, talking to you, answering your questions. But what I'm telling you is you're in control of your life. Don't give up control to politicians. Don't give up control to some strident jerk that comes in and wants to push his agenda on you all the time. You don't have to take the bait. Don't do it. Don't take the bait. Find some peace. And the last thing I want to say to you is this. If you take even 10 minutes twice a day to get off by yourself, clear your mind, and truly, truly get some relaxation. And I don't mean just chill for a few minutes. Get some relaxation. Rid your body of muscle tension. Tense up every muscle in your body for 10 seconds and then release it. Tense it up for 10 seconds and then release it. And then 10 times in a row, breathe in the same time you breathe out. Breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. Do that 10 times in a row. And the same thing with tensing and relaxing your muscles. I'm telling you, the effects last for 8 hours. It makes a huge, huge difference. And people are saying this is the worst it's ever been in the country. We had a civil war where we were shooting each other. This isn't the worst it's ever been. We will get through this. I'm the incurable optimist. So come on, guys, hang in there. Tune in. We're talking about things that matter. I'm not here to push the show. I'm just telling you I believe in what we're doing. So tune in. You'll hear us talking about things that matter. And I'll be back this week on Facebook Live, probably on Thursday morning. So put that on your calendar. Send me your questions. And be looking on Facebook, because I'm going through, like I said, I answered 20 questions last night. I'm answer some more today. I'll answer some more tonight. I'm interacting with you guys, so maybe I don't know, maybe I'll throw out a tidbit, say something that makes a difference. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. Watch the show today because it's talking about these cults and how you can get sucked up into something when you're desperate and looking for an alternative answer. It could save you or somebody in your family from really getting in a place you don't want to be. So, all right, guys, I got to go shoot something else. We got a lot going on this week. I'll talk to you later. Watch the show today and later this week. I'll talk to you soon. So long.